What's going on, Detroit Lions fans? Welcome back. Stephen Will, Detroit Den 313. Will, I got a question for you right out the gate. Like, no, let's just get into it.
This is never good. I just
Yeah.
want to this is never good. And I have no idea where you're going. So hold on.
Yes.
All right.
Buckle up.
Seatbelts on.
Do you know what tomorrow is?
The day where offensive linemen run around in pajamas.
That's true. That is true. Do you know what else tomorrow is?
Uh, a day where we get a look at my man from South Dakota State.
I'm happy, but I'm a little disappointed, Will. I'm a little disappointed. I'm going to be honest with you. Tomorrow is officially the 2-year anniversary of Detroit Den 313 as of tomorrow. So I don't know what our plans are tomorrow. You know what I did today? I went
Yeah.
back. I watched our very, very, very first episode, and I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed.
Masterpiece. What do you mean?
Yeah. Thank you to all 200 people who tuned in, and all 8 people who left comments, and all 8 of you are people we work with. It was just, it was just a little trip down memory lane. You know, we've obviously expanded and grown a tad bit since then. But stick around, hit that subscribe button while you're at it. But Will, today was more combine stuff. We had some running backs, some wide receivers, and some quarterbacks, I guess we'll say, even though only I think 3 of them ran the 40-yard dash today. But I guess we'll throw them into the mix. But what's on the menu today? What do you want to dive into?
Yeah, just as I was watching the combine, man, I'm always looking for the Detroit Lions. That's the reason why I'm watching it. So when I was looking at it, man, there was a couple guys that stood out to me. Probably some weird people, people that a lot of people probably don't even really want to hear about, because realistically, this wasn't the meat and potatoes of what we're looking for this year. I'm assuming. I'm not Brad Holmes. I'm assuming, though, we're probably not going to be drafting a receiver early, probably not going to be drafting a running back early, probably not going to be drafting a quarterback early. So the people that I saw that kind of stood out for me, or the people that I was looking to, were not the sexy ones that were running the 4.3 flats. It wasn't the ones that were doing any type of crazy agility drills, or the ones that weren't working out. Outside of Scadaboo, or however you pronounce his name, he could be a guy that could be
just call him Mike Allstott 2.0
right?
if you wanted.
Yeah, he could end up being a dude. But outside of that, man, for the most part, it was some later round type guys that I saw that I think really could be potential guys that could help the Detroit Lions out. Did you see anybody that stood out to you? Anybody that excites you?
I'll start with saying I'm with you. I felt like today was a little hard to get into because I was locked and loaded on Thursday when the defense was going. That was, like you just said, the meat and potatoes for me. That's where my focus is going to be. But we don't know what Brad Holmes is going to do. All right, he's a psycho sometimes. Maybe he's got his eyes on a receiver at pick 100, or another running back, which I personally don't think we need. But I'm not the GM of the Detroit Lions, so I don't know exactly what he's looking for, or what he thinks we need, or where he thinks we can get stronger, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I feel like we're pretty set, other than maybe a wide receiver. But if we bring back Tim Patrick, I don't think a receiver is needed at all, at least this year. Maybe we can, kick that can down the road to 2026. So I guess we'll have to see what happens with Timothy Patrick. But offense, I feel like we're pretty set. So it was a little bit tough for me to watch today, but I have to go into this open-minded and saying maybe we do draft another running back for some competition, or maybe another wide receiver. I don't know. There's a couple guys I had my eyes on, and I don't know where I would rank them on my top, 250 board. I don't know, but some guys who interest me. Yeah, I've got a couple.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it. Who you got?
I was always interested in Dylan Sampson from the University of Tennessee. We got some Tennessee ties in our family. I've got 2 nieces that graduated from the University of Tennessee, so we're always watching Tennessee football at night when they're on. We probably watched 10 out of the 12 games. So I'm by no means a Vols fan, but I respect the shit out of Dylan Sampson's game. That kid's got some game. But I would be more excited if we needed a running back. So I'm kind of watching it with that. I mean, I can't ignore the fact that this kid at Tennessee this past season had 258 carries for almost 1,500 yards and 22 touchdowns. Like, hard for me to ignore. But again, I know we don't need a running back. So he interests me, but I know he's not a fit for the Detroit Lions. How do you feel?
He's a little light in the ass. for what I'm looking for. I think we do need a running back. We need somebody potentially, or we could potentially need a running back. We could need somebody to replace Craig Reynolds. I think Craig Reynolds' job is underrated. So when I think about Craig Reynolds, I'm thinking about a guy that can step in and play special teams as well as be an RP3. And I don't know, man. I was looking at a couple of dudes. One guy that stood out to me, and I said, guys, it's not going to be sexy. It's not going to be anything that's super crazy, but Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon interests me, man. Big running back, 225 pounds. Ran a 4.6 today. People are probably like, man, you ran 6. Hey, if I want an explosive back, I'm gonna hand the ball to Jameer Gibbs. Okay. And if I want somebody that's powerful to take the majority of the carries that Jameer Gibbs isn't getting, I'm gonna hand it to David Montgomery. I'm looking for that guy that maybe could be a goal line guy. Maybe could be a guy that turns into something later on. I think he's got a lot of potential in a draft where everybody was running 4.4s and 4.3s. And the other two guys that I'm really like, the Ohio State running backs, Jenkins, I like a lot. He's just an angry runner. I think he'll be gone before the Lions are drafting, so I thought Ollie Gordon, man, is a guy that could be a potential guy you bring in a camp and you let him compete for that RB3 position and see what happens. Did you like Ollie Gordon, man? You up on him? How you feel about him?
I think the last time we drafted an Oklahoma State running back, it turned out okay for the Detroit Lions, right? Just one of the GOATs, TBE, the best ever. Barry Sanders, number one in my book, is the number one running back of all time. But again, it really depends to me where you're drafting him, because I have a strict rule for rounds 1 and 2. Round 3, I'm a little bit more flexible, but I don't know if running back 3 is the value there for a running back at all. So I don't know. For me, it really just depends. After round 3, hey, if Brad wants to take a chance and build some depth on the offense, running back, wide receiver, offensive lineman, I'm good. But I think I'm pretty locked in with what I want, and I know it's not up to me in my first 3 picks that I'm leaning defense. So for me, I'd like Ollie Gordon, big running back. What was his 40 time?
4.6.
4.6. Not the fastest in the world, not the slowest in the world, kind of just average, right? Yeah. Why not in round 4? But I'm pretty firm on my rules in round 3. But my name's Steve Perkins, not Brad Holmes.
Yeah, none of the conversations that I'm having about any of these guys are guys that are going to be in the top 3 picks. These are all guys that are 4th round and beyond that I'm talking about. If you're replacing Craig Reynolds with a top 3 pick or a top 3 round pick, I would really question what Brad Holmes was doing, right? So, but yeah, these are all guys. The running back showed out today. They showed out. I mean, it was 4.3s, it was 4.4s. It was nuts, man. And getting off on a tangent, I don't think that it's real, though. I don't think that these 40 times are real. And I think that a lot of people are talking about how guys are so much more athletic than they were back in the day. I disagree with that. Now, are some guys, these big guys, these linemen, are they more athletic? Yeah, they are, because as they're getting bigger and stronger, science and training has taught people that mobility is just so important, man. Being bendy and all of those things. The game has changed. I agree with that. But Calvin Johnson was not planning to run a 40-yard dash. He let another person use his cleats. That's how set he was on not running a 40-yard dash. And then people started talking crap like he would probably, if he did run a 4.5. And he said 4.5. Are you nuts? Are you out of your mind? Yeah. Run those cleats. I'm going at 240 pounds, 45 pounds, 6'3", 6'4". I'm going to go run a 4.3. Thank you. Stretch for what? So, man,
fresh off the bench.
I just think, yeah, it's just a different day, man, where everybody is going to track coaches to learn how to get out of the blocks. They're wearing track spikes and not even cleats. They're keeping their head down and running like Olympic sprinters and getting every 10th of a second. They're leaning over the line and taking a huge first step to gain ground really for darn near before the clock is actually starting. There's so many techniques and little tweaks that you can do to run a fast 40. It's not just guys towing the line and taking off and let me see how athletic you are anymore, which is fine. I just think you need to take that into account. But today the running back showed out. That's what they're supposed to do. You're supposed to prepare. Failure to prepare is preparing to prevail. It's preparing to fail. I use that quote all the time coaching, and I believe in it. So that these guys are prepared. They did what they needed to do to run fast 40s, and the running back showed out today. Don't want to take that away from some of the guys from the smaller schools, some of the guys that are 6'3", like Ollie Gordon, who's going to have a hard time bunching himself up as a big, stocky running back. I don't want to take that away from some of these guys that are going to be darn good football players, irregardless. I think Ollie Gordon is a guy who can contribute to a team. Very similar to Zach Charbonnet, another big running back that wasn't super fast, but he's produced in a lot of football games when he's gotten opportunities. I think that a guy like Ollie Gordon coming in, being RB3 in replacement of Craig Reynolds is something that you look at. Now, is it automatically going to be an upgrade from Craig Reynolds? Not necessarily, because maybe even if he is a better running back, can he contribute on special teams? Is he going to be committed to going from a star at Oklahoma State to a role player in the NFL? What's his mental like? What's he like when he sits in that room and he talks to Brad Holmes and the group about his mindset on football? Is he a football guy, a guy that loves football? There's a lot of things, but when I'm just talking about his football ability when it comes to being a running back, it was something that I noticed and something that interests me.
Did I know sometimes when you're I know you're at work today, and sometimes when you're busy, you're multitasking. Did you have the audio on while you were listening to the combine today?
It was hit and miss, man, honestly. And then the laptop that I watched it on, some of it on the work laptop, so you know how that sound is a little goofy. Yeah. But yeah, it was hit and miss, man. Some of it I heard, some of it didn't. And yeah, I was dipping and dabbling, man, but most of the time I heard.
The reason I ask is because Daniel Jeremiah was saying the same thing. Not exactly, but he was talking about the running backs and how this was like the fastest running backs group. And like, I think he said ever. I could be wrong. I think the average time for running backs today was a 4.48, and there was a lot of guys that were under that. Like, it's crazy. So it brings me into a question that I was having with some buddies a couple weeks ago about running backs. You know, there's like a stigma out there, and I know where it's coming from locally, and maybe we'll mention that. But I know even the NFL has the same stigma of, you know, you don't pay running backs, their value's not as much as it is. And I am completely opposite of that, because I know that there's a dude on the radio locally. If you guys know who I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about, who obviously always says you don't pay running backs. Not paying a running back over $10 million a year. And I looked at my buddy, and we were having this kind of a debate, I guess. And I said, you're right. You don't pay running backs $10 million or more a year, but I will pay a playmaker more than $10 million a year. Because we were kind of talking about Jahmyr Gibbs. And I said, I don't view Jahmyr Gibbs as a running back. I view him as a football player who makes plays. He just happens to play the running back position, who is a game changer. So do you think that that's a stigma that's still out there? Do you think that's fair? And what are your feelings on it?
I completely disagree. What I think people need to understand, in my opinion, is this: football is a revolving cycle, man. It's just a revolving cycle. So we've turned into a passing league. We went from a league that was run the ball, pound it down your throat, big, huge linemen that were just going to move you against your will, to a passing league where linemen had to be agile and be able to deal with these edge rushers that are crazy big and crazy athletic. And now a guy that used to be playing the linebacker position is playing edge, and he can bend, but he's as fast as probably a safety, but he's as big as one of the old school linebackers or bigger, right? It's just the game is changing. But what you're starting to notice is now the running backs are coming back. Now the running game is coming back. Now teams like the Detroit Lions are flipping the script and saying, hey, we're going to pound the ball down your throat. It's going to be play action. We don't necessarily need one of these crazy mobile quarterbacks. We're going to do it old school, man. And I think that the league is starting to take heed to what the Detroit Lions are doing. So I think that it's always going to be a cycle, man. It's a copycat league in the NFL. When somebody's having success with something, the pistol was the thing for a few years, man. Everybody was running the pistol, you know.
The Wildcat.
So, yeah, the Wildcat. People are trying to spread it out and play college football now. That was the thing for a while. The air raid, you know what I mean? So now we're seeing the RPO, which I talked about before. It was only going to be in college is what we thought back in the day. Now the RPO is here. The read is here. So I don't agree with you don't pay a running back. I agree with you do what is trending or what's working currently. You do that. So if currently paying running backs isn't working, you don't do it until you get Jahmyr Gibbs, and then you pay him. You know what I mean? And then if the trend is they start making more Jahmyr Gibbs because that's the hot thing and kids see him and they want to be like him, which Jahmyr Gibbs is just Christian McCaffrey, right? So you know what I mean? So you see Christian McCaffrey, you now realize that's a thing, being a dual threat running back, throwing the ball to your running backs, hey, now people have something to aspire to do. That's hot for a while. And then every DC like me starts to try to figure out, hey, how do we stop that? What do we do? What type of players do we need to get to stop that? How do we combat that? We get those players that doesn't work anymore, then the offense adjusts. It's just chess, man. But eventually you just come back to the same thing that you were at in the beginning. So I think that the league right now is going to a place where the running game is going to matter more. Shoot, we got the tush push. We got Saquon Barkley. We got offensive lines, protecting their quarterback. I wouldn't deem Jalen Hurts as a pocket passer by any means. You know what I mean? But they protect him. They give him an opportunity to do what he needs to do. They pound the rock. They tush push. I think that they're on to something. And I think that that's going to lead into something else that I think we're going to talk about moving forward. But yeah, Steve, I disagree, man. I don't get into the whole you're not paying a running back. I think you do what you need to do to be successful. You do what's trending and what's winning.
Yeah, I'm not paying every running back. I'm going to pay the ones who are elite. Like, do you think the Eagles are glad that they signed and paid Saquon Barkley this year? They don't win a Super Bowl without him. I mean, there's a reason that Hard Knocks came out and said that they have to do a college version because NFL teams don't want to be a part of this offseason Hard Knocks and get an up close look at what goes on in these front offices. Because the GM for the Giants was an absolute clown last year, and the owner was saying things like, "Man, I won't be able to sleep at night if Saquon goes to the Eagles." Well, he goes to the Eagles, runs for 2,000 yards, ends up winning a Super Bowl. I don't know. So when I look at the running back position, I look at guys who touch the ball 12 to 18 times a game, and I think that there's a lot of value in that. And if you're using them the right way, like we do with Jahmyr Gibbs, you can get him the ball in the passing game. You can get him the ball in the running game. You just don't know what he's going to do, as opposed to like a wide receiver who, like we say, what's a good game for a wide receiver? 7 to 10 catches. Like, I think wide receivers don't touch the ball nearly as much as running backs, but that's just my opinion. I've always been a running backs type of guy. So I don't know, with the running backs running today, just kind of wanted to bring up that question, and just sparked a little something in my memory from a conversation a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, for sure. That was a good question, man.
I'm always asking good questions. Well, who else did you have your eyes on today? Any wide receivers stick out to you?
Yeah, man. So this is another one, man. It's not going to be sexy, man. But my man from Colorado State, man. I remember a game, man, that was going down at like freaking 2:00 in the morning.
That was when they played Colorado and Colorado State.
Yeah, Colorado State had a receiver, man. What's his name? Troy Horton. I don't know what I want to call him Horn for some reason. That's why I had to make sure I pulled it up.
Well, Colorado has a Jimmy Horn.
Yeah, so Troy Horton, man. He got on the map in that game for me. Didn't know much about him before that, but that wasn't last season. That was a season before. All right, so ever since then, he's been on the map. I check in to see what he's doing, how he's doing. If Colorado State by some fluke is on ESPN2 or something like that, I'll check him out for a little bit. He's a dog. You know how many other receivers I know on Colorado State? 0. Right. Yeah. And I think everybody in the world knows he's getting the football, yet he still does his thing. Watching that Colorado game, everybody knew that he was getting the football. Still did his thing, man. So showed out at the combine today. Was faster than I thought he was, or thought he could be, man. I think he ran off the top of my head spitball, and I know it was 4.4, like 4.47 or something like that. Solid speed, 6'2", 6'3". Does a great job catching the football with his hands, and he's a name that's not getting talked about. To me, that's a guy who Brad Holmes could go grab. That's a guy who could be a Detroit Lion. That's a Timothy Patrick type of guy, man. A guy that you select later on in the draft. Not many people have heard about him. There's not about a lot of buzz while all of these big names and these big 4-3 guys and all of this stuff is happening. I think he's a guy that could potentially end up a Detroit Lion. People go, who the heck is that? And next thing you know, next season, he's catching 4 or 5 touchdowns quietly, just being a quiet assassin, kind of like similar to Timothy Patrick, man. Just, he's not a guy that you're ever going to be he's ever going to be your franchise player, so to speak, man. But he's definitely a guy that I think is going to get on an NFL team and contribute.
Yeah, look, I was just pulling up his box score from that Colorado game. He said that was his career high for college in receptions was 16 and 133 yards, 16 for 16 targets, one touchdown. And he had a game earlier in the year. I'm looking with 10 catches, 227 yards. So get this dude the ball. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about him.
Last year.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about him.
Last year, but 2023 he had 1,100 yards. 2022 he had 1,100 yards. Man, this is a guy that can play the game, man. He can get it done.
Yeah, off year this year, injuries, and let's not act like Colorado State is like an offensive powerhouse. But yeah, I mean, one of those hidden gems, possibly like a guy who could produce, but maybe he was locked into a system that didn't feature him. Maybe he had a boo-boo he was nursing. A lot of X factors can go into these college last seasons of college. So we'll be interested to see, because I'm sure Brad's going to be looking at not just one season. He dives into 3, 4, what you did in high school, what you ate for lunch before prom and in 6th grade. So, I mean, he's going to dive into it all. And I like his size. ESPN has him listed at 6'3". You said he's 6'2", 185.
Yeah, he was 6'2". He was 6'2" at the combine.
And ran a 4.4?
4.7, I believe.
It's all right. That's okay speed, I guess. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying, man. He's a guy. Yeah, he's a guy, man, that I feel like is going to go into the draft underrated. Those are guys that you look for, man. The guys that kind of slide through the cracks, smaller school, doesn't got all of the hype behind him, didn't run the 4.3, just isn't a sexy pick. So yeah, man, he's a guy that I'm definitely looking at. And either way that it goes, I'll take a peek and see who selects him if the Lions don't select him, and see what ends up happening.
I don't think enough people are really taking into effect the fact that Ben Johnson's not in town no more. All right, it's Johnny Morton's show. We don't know what his offense is going to look like. We don't know if there's another piece out there where he's in Brad's ear and saying, hey, look, man, I know we're pretty set on offense, but I need this type of player, whether that's a wide receiver, a running back, another tight end. I don't know. I would imagine Johnny Morton's going to come to Detroit and keep things mostly the same, because our offense has been successful. But there is that if factor of, hey, maybe I need a receiver like a Torrey Holton that can do running, blocking, some special teams. I can get him the ball on some handoffs. I know we have Jameson Williams, but I think that we should look into that a little bit more of what Johnny Morton might want to do. And we don't know that for sure, but it's just something that I think a lot of people don't really mention. New offensive coordinator, he might want a new toy.
Yeah. He talked about it a little bit when he was talking to Danny Rodgers, and I liked his quote, man. He said, I would be a fool to come in here and change what's working very well.
Yeah.
What's working very well. But what I do think is going to be the biggest difference is not necessarily the plays and the terminology, as much as it's going to be the play caller, which can be huge. In situations, sometimes we talked about it before, where the Chicago Bears coach got cute and did some things that were kind of outside of the box. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. I don't think that we're going to see that as much from Coach Morton. Now, he does have some tricks up his sleeves. They did do some cool things out there in Denver, even though he wasn't necessarily the guy in charge. He's a passing game coordinator. I think here, and he's going to be a little bit more, I don't want to use the word conservative, but he's going to be a little bit more run the ball down your face and then play action. And that's pretty much what the camp is too. We got my man from Stanford likes to run it down your face.
David Shaw.
So that's what I'm looking for, man, is the play action, the getting the momentum going, the step on your neck, the tough, gritty style of football that we already kind of have. But I don't think that was a Chicago Bears coach. He wasn't a tough, gritty style, punch you in the mouth type of OC. He was a smartest guy in the room, blow your mind with a trick play or a sexy play or a crazy formation or a swing tackle or a shift or, motion, that type of stuff. It's not necessarily what we have to do. Can we do it? Yeah, we can. And it's fun when we do it. But do we have to? We don't have to do that stuff. And I think that's what you're going to see more of this year. I know Coach Morton loves play action. He loves to throw the ball down the field. I'm excited for that, for guys like J-Mo, man, to get opportunities to take the roof off of that thing. Pound, 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 and then There goes JMO up the field, man. So it'll be nice to see if he does get a toy in this draft. We're talking about trench heavy. A lot of the people that we're interviewing and meeting with is it falls along those lines. Even the extra guys that we've met with, the list has expanded. It's still pretty much the same theme. So I don't know, Steve. I think that I think it's going to be trench warfare. I'm just hoping that the athletic freaks get to be a part of that party.
Yeah, we got a little something planned for one of the guys we had a meeting with the other day that we both found very, very interesting. And we had about a half-hour conversation yesterday after we recorded that. We'll probably drop that maybe sometime Monday. We also got to get some mock drafts out there that people are going to be dying to see. I think we got some good ones. Anything else for tonight?
No, I will say this, and I haven't got a chance to talk to you about it, but I want to give people a preview, and it'll give you an opportunity to do it too if you so choose. I've been working on something in my mind, and maybe we can put a 10-minute show together and we both do it. But in my mind, how to fix, I don't want to say fix, how to make the Detroit Lions Super Bowl ready in 5 minutes. I'm locked and loaded, Steve. I'm locked and loaded. So be ready for that one. Be ready for that one moving forward.
I already got an answer. Trench warfare. End of story.
Need a little bit more than that, but
we got some big men going tomorrow at the combine. Some offensive linemen. We'll be diving into that tomorrow night. Taking a look at some depth pieces. You know, we're a little older in the middle of that offensive line with Frank Ragnow and question mark with Kevin Zeitler and Graham Glasgow. So we're going to be looking at some interior offensive linemen, maybe some tackles of the future. Leave some comments. Let us know who to look out for tomorrow while the offensive linemen are running. Stick around, hit that like button. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.